This Sports Social podcast is brought to you by BetVictor, where live streams, smart stats and in-play betting can help you make your best bet yet. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
NFL Sunday Ticket is now on YouTube and YouTube TV, which means that it just got easier to be an NFL fan, even if you live far away. Like maybe you like the Bears, but you're hibernating in Panthers territory. But with NFL Sunday Ticket, your out-of-market team is never more than a short distance away. Specifically, the distance from you to your remote control. NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. Go to youtube.com/presale to get $50 off.
Terms and embargoes apply. Offer ends 9/19. No refund. Subscription auto renews.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
The 1865 Sketch by Jeremy Davies. Sorry I missed the first pod at the weekend, but a bit like Christmas on the high street, the football season seems to start earlier and earlier these days, and I was still on my summer holidays. It's not actually true, of course, just as W.H. Smith has had the tinsel out in September for years, and I believe Harrods might have been opening their Christmas shop in August practically since the Three Kings followed a bright start to Bethlehem. The Football League has been kicking off at the start of August for ages, with the Premier League following suit a week later, to give all those England players a few extra days to recover from the disappointment of being knocked out of whatever international football tournament they had flopped in that summer. And just think, if it wasn't for those kindly Qataris with all their shiny new stadia and lax approach to health and safety in the workplace, we might just have finished the World Cup. Messi might be brandishing a newly minted World Cup winners' medal rather than banging them in for Inter Miami, and Harry Kane's penalty against the French might still be rising. Whatever the rights and wrongs of last year's World Cup, there's no doubt that the days of footballers holding down a second job playing cricket over the summer months are long gone, or even taking cricket semi-seriously like Gary Lineker did when he scored 100 and a hat-trick one day in pre-season, as recounted in his Behind Closed Doors podcast. The air of heady optimism that surrounded the City Ground last summer may have dissipated somewhat as we contemplate second season syndrome, but it was noticeable that none of my fellow 1865 podders picked out Forest for the drop in their pre-season predictions. I thought West Ham was a bold selection by a couple of them, given that they brought home a European trophy last season, but with Declan Rice gone, they do look a bit light. Even if I've been left frustrated that Arsenal haven't signed BBC journalist Declan Curry to play alongside him in a perfectly balanced midfield, before forming a successful sketch comedy duo in years to come. I picked out Bournemouth, Fulham and Leeds to go down last season. 1-3 isn't bad, certainly compared to Chris Wood's scoring ratio, although he was of course hampered by the injury last season that he picked up during his brief cameo appearance at the Tottenham away game. I was mildly amused to hear that Spurs were considering a bid for Brennan Johnson. It made me think of the chap sat a couple of rows in front of me in that particular match, who responded to a run and shot by Brennan by pointing out to all the Spurs fans around him, in a voice just loud enough that everyone could hear, that another word for Johnson is prick. No one laughed. It's difficult these days to make any kind of credible prediction of the future that doesn't involve artificial intelligence. On that note, Grimsby Town Chairman Jason Stockwood wrote a recent piece for The Guardian on the potential impact of AI in football, in which he talked about its role in recruitment at the likes of Brighton and Brentford, and the potential future use of machine learning technology to provide managers with in-game data, such as the fact that certain opposition players tire later in matches and should be targeted by more energetic opponents. I could almost hear Brian Clough turning in his grave. Not that I'm dismissing it out of hand, mind. After all, we all thought that VAR technology would end the controversy over offside decisions. And look how well that's turned out. Still, no matter what uncertainty the future holds, it's impossible not to be excited as Forest prepare to kick off their second consecutive year as a top-flight club for the first time since John Major was Prime Minister. Even if the Ashes is only just finished. And given their pre-season form, Forest may do well to avoid letting Arsenal run up a cricket score on Saturday.
Thanks very much to Jeremy, and we will be back at the weekend with our match report after the Arsenal versus Forest game.
Sports Social Podcast Network.